An existential crisis refers to feelings of unease about meaning, choice, and freedom in life. Whether referred to as an existential crisis or existential anxiety, the main concerns are the same: that life is inherently pointless, that our existence has no meaning because there are no limits or boundaries on it, and that we all must die someday. Existential anxiety tends to arise during transitions and reflects difficulty adapting, often related to losing safety and security. For example, a college student moving away from home or an adult going through a difficult divorce might feel as though the foundation on which their life was built is crumbling. This can lead to questioning the meaning of their existence. The term existential crisis has its roots in the philosophy of existentialism, which focuses on the meaning and purpose of existence from an overall and individual perspective. Existentialists view anxiety in a different way than psychiatrists and psychologists. Rather than perceiving anxiety to be a problem that must be resolved, they view it as an inevitable part of life that everyone will experience, something that is positive and that can teach us important lessons about life. They view the ultimate concerns of life as death, freedom, isolation, and meaninglessness. These concepts are thought to cause feelings of dread and angst because we can never be sure that our choices are the right ones. And once a choice is made, the alternative has to be rejected. In 1844, Danish philosopher Soren Kierkegaard wrote, "Whoever has learned to be anxious in the right way has learned the ultimate." This expresses the idea that existential anxiety goes beyond fear about day-to-day troubles. For existentialists, it's considered a journey, an awareness, a natural or necessary experience, and a complex phenomenon. It arises from an awareness of your own freedoms and how life will end for you one day. During an existential crisis, a person may experience a variety of symptoms, including anxiety, depression, feeling overwhelmed, isolation from friends and loved ones, lack of motivation and energy, loneliness, and obsessive worry. An existential crisis often occurs after major life events, such as career or job choice, death of a loved one, diagnosis of a serious or life-threatening illness, entering a significant age category such as 40, 50, or 65, experiencing a tragic or traumatic experience, having children, marriage and divorce. People with the mental health conditions may also be prone to having an existential crisis. Even though disorders don't cause it, they could be anxiety, borderline personality disorder, depression, excessive compulsive disorders, and many others. Existential crisis is an umbrella term that can be used to describe or group together many types of issues. Existentialism emphasizes that we are all free to make choices in life, and with this freedom to make choices comes responsibility. However, given the ultimate fate of death, your actions can appear meaningless when viewed in relation to the bigger picture of your life. In this way, freedom can lead to despair, and the responsibility that comes with this freedom can cause anxiety. How often have you struggled with a decision and feared it was the wrong one? That fear of making the wrong choice reflects angst about freedom related to existential concerns. Existentialists believe that we have this anxiety or angst because there's no right path and no guide to tell us what to do. In essence, each of us make meaning in our own lives. If this responsibility feels too great, we may retreat into behaving that shields us from feeling this type of anxiety. If you struggle with existential anxiety, you might be asking, what's the point of living? As you move through transitions in your life and lose the security of familiar context and structure, you might question the point of life. If in the end, the result is that you die, why go through the motions? French philosopher, journalist, and author Albert Camus argued that the ability to have passion for what could otherwise be considered a meaningless life reflects an appreciation for life itself. If you can stop trying to live for the end or the goal and start living for the act of being itself, then your life might become about living it fully, choosing integrity and being passionate. This sounds not surprising like the foundation of mindfulness meditation in the medical model of anxiety. An existential crisis might move you toward authenticity, which could also bring anxiety. You might have thoughts about the fleetingness of your existence and how you are living it. When you stop talking or taking for granted that you will wake up each day alive, You might experience anxiety, but at the same time have a deeper meaning. You might notice that all day-to-day mundane problems that bothered you so much so no longer seem to matter, and all the thoughts and fears and anxiety about the mundane fall away because you are faced with a much bigger problem. At the end of your life, will any of this matter? Will it matter what career you choose, how much money you had, or what car you drove? Many people experience an existential crisis when they transition into a new phase of life, such as childhood or adulthood, or from adulthood into senior living. Major life events, including graduation, starting a new job, or switching careers, marriage or divorce, having children, retiring, can also bring on an existential crisis. Losing a partner, parent, sibling, or child, or any other loved ones often forces people to face their own mortality and question the meaning of their life. Similarly, if you are facing a serious or life-threatening illness, you might have an existential crisis that causes you to become overwhelmed with thoughts of death and the meaning of life. Given that existential anxiety is related to an awareness of the ultimate boundaries in life, which are death and chance, anxiety of this type can be seen as unavoidable rather than pathological. Because of this, each of us must find a way to live with this anxiety rather than eliminate it or argue it. There are both helpful and unhelpful ways of responding to an existential crisis. One is the choice not to live it at all or to give up on life. A second is to become so absorbed in daily distractions that you don't live an authentic life. This is said to leave no room for existential anxiety, but also no room for an authentic life either. It's a maladaptive coping or avoidance strategy in essence. How many people do you know go through life with eyes wide shut, never looking at the big picture? But experiencing an existential crisis can also be positive. It can force you to question your purpose in life and help provide direction. Here's some help in making an existential crisis a positive experience for you or someone you love. Number one, you can write it down. Can you let this existential anxiety motivate you and guide you toward a more authentic life? What can this anxiety teach you about your relatedness to the world? You can pull out a notebook and jot down your thoughts on your questions. It's in these answers to these questions that you will find how to cope with an existential crisis. Number two, you seek support. Talking with loved ones about your existential anxiety can help you gain a different life perspective and remind you of the positive impact you've had on their lives. Ask them to help you identify your most positive and admirable qualities. And number three, try meditation. Meditation can also help you replace negative thoughts and help prevent anxiety and excessive worry linked to an existential crisis. While there's no specific treatment for dealing with existential anxiety, there are treatments that can be helpful. For example, cognitive behavioral therapy and medication can help address symptoms of anxiety, depression, and other mental health issues that may accompany existential anxiety, including thoughts of suicide. If you're having suicidal thoughts, you can also contact the National Suicide Prevention Line. It's 1-800-273-8255 for support and assistance from a trained counselor. If you or a loved one are in immediate danger, just call 911. Talking to a professional can be very helpful in reducing existential anxiety. If you find yourself grappling with angst, whether due to a transition or a life-changing event, self-care approaches that focus on finding meaning may be helpful. Take care of yourself.